people are not in a good place, guys. And let's talk about what's going on, the world economy, US economy, Canada, these different things, and how it relates back to crypto, and how I'm approaching it, how I'm thinking about different investments, whether that be real estate, whether that be cars, lots of different things. So right now we have the UAW strike, striking strategically, various different plants, probably about 3 or 4 different plants. And you know, this is only going to kind of spread. This whole situation is going to spread, and it probably will jack up the prices of cars. And you know, while I was thinking about selling the Bentley a year ago, and that was originally the plan, you know, things just kind of got delayed. I still have it. And ultimately, it's kind of weird because I'm sitting here thinking about this UAW strike, and I'm like, well, I mean, this might actually end up helping me. You have a lot of reposts happening. We've seen these videos where it's like 15% of people have a car payment over $1,000, which is crazy. I've never made car payments. I've always bought all my cars all cash. That's a very old school concept. But at the end of the day, I always own those cars. Now, would it have made sense to, you know, get a car note at low interest rates or something like that? And I probably could have got into, let's say, some nicer car maybe in the past. But there's an element of freedom that I don't like to be qualified by others. You need to qualify yourself. I don't let banks dictate if you're qualified or not. I've done that with real estate. I've done that with vehicles. I've done that with other investments. So, you know, at the end of the day, if you can figure out a way to not fit into that box, because they want you to be a gear in the machine. And when they have these people plugged in, and I saw this up in Canada, all these women, oh, I had to get vaccinated because of my job. I know people that quit their job, you know, because they were like, I don't need this, and they're not going to control me, and I don't want this. And they quit their jobs, they uprooted, and one of my friends even moved from Seattle and moved to Texas. We're going to see a lot of that. People kind of going to other places where they feel like there's a better opportunity. We have people doing that all over the world. And with these borders, we're in unprecedented times. There's been over 6 million people that were that came in contact with Border Patrol and stuff last year and a half, 2 years on the southern US border. That's absurd. That is absolutely absurd. And we already know their play. They're trying to get the votes. You know, these people are going to be auto voted in. Oh, they're going to get IDs. They're going to be given work permits. You know, they're kind of pushing for this. And really, at the end of the day, let's say somebody comes here. You say, well, I mean, wouldn't they want to come here? It's just, you know, great opportunity, this and that. It's expensive to live here. It's expensive to live in Canada. They're just getting kicked in the teeth with inflation. The housing prices is just absurd. It's like, I think the average house price in Canada is something like 1.3 million Canadian dollars, which I think a Canadian dollar is maybe worth about 83 cents to the US dollar currently. So these are like real estate markets are out of control. It costs so much to live. Just these people flooding in. They try to get the votes, and a lot of the systems have been set up as a Ponzi. So to try to get the tax revenue, to try to kick the can further down the road. I mean, the spending is outrageous. Right now in the United States, we have over $33 trillion worth of debt. For each man, woman, and child, they pretty much owe $98,000 per person. For every tax-paying citizen, it's over $250,000. It's like $256,000 that it would take for each tax-paying citizen to pay off the national debt. That's absurd. That's absurd. So come up with this plan. Or we'll just let all these other people flood in. We'll take these states. You know, we've seen what's happened. Trying to get rid of these people, send them up to New York, and then New York's trying to send them back to Texas, or the government's trying to say, no, those people have to stay in Texas. You know, the border's not secure. This is absurd. This is illegal. You know, what's going on? It's absurd. So Olympus has fallen, guys. The maple leaf has fallen too. Canada has fallen. You know, and I would say, you know, I saw it up there, like people saying it is so expensive up here in Ontario. Ontario was nice. You know, there's a lot of cool things in Ontario. You actually have the largest and the second largest freshwater beaches in the world up on Lake Huron. Lake Huron's beautiful. Got a lot of good area, and Ontario's huge. You know, you You got waterfront on Superior too, way up north. And very, very cool place. People are very nice. But it's been overran. I mean, like one of the instances I saw actually in one neighborhood that I drove through in Ontario, the whole neighborhood was like traditionally dressed people from India. And these houses are selling for 700, 800, thousand Canadian dollars. It was just kind of absurd. And they were able to get over here and get those. And I mean, shout out to them if that's, that's going to be a better life and they're going to have the community there and stuff like that. So you really can't blame other people. They're trying to take advantage of it too. But you have to think that way as well. Does it make sense to live in the state that you're in? Does it make sense to live in the country that you're in? And that's a huge step. I mean, people from these various different states in the United States, I know people that really haven't really left the state hardly. I think that's crazy. Like you'd be like, well, haven't they drove down to Florida or something? But some people haven't. It's just, it's just their mindset was different. It's outside the box. It's kind of weird to them. And, they've never been to California. They've never been outside the country. So obviously it's a bigger mental thing, jump for them. And then it's just like, well, what's it going to be like in that other country and all that kind of stuff. And is there value there? So I got very, very deep in the weeds and looking for value, both in the United States, Canada, the rest of the world. Some of the only value I personally see is unimproved land up in a place like northern Michigan, and there's a lot of these lakes up in Ontario and stuff like that. I wouldn't necessarily consider buying property in Canada. Just don't think that's, unless it was maybe in Calgary or something like that. But I like the lakes, so maybe there's an opportunity there. But I just think that Canada's kind of lost. The U.S. is primarily lost, but I think these kind of colder regions, you're not going to have a lot of homeless people that are going to be trying to thug it out, up in like Marquette, Michigan or something, or up in like Petoskey, Michigan, or, Charlevoix, Michigan. These kind of northern areas are very pretty, along the lakes and stuff, but it's expensive up there. Cat's out of the bag. It's not, people went up there even in the 1920s and secured properties. There's even there's even people that have built houses and stuff on these different islands that are in the Great Lakes, which is interesting. Obviously expensive to get there, expensive to ship, to get the materials out there to build something. So that's always tough. And then I looked around the world and, there seems to be a certain level of value in these places like Italy, certain areas like in Spain. Me and my friend were talking about one of those, sleeper agent, Steve McClare. And, he basically, found some properties in Spain. He really liked Spain. And, some stuff that was like maybe 150, 160,000 US dollars that were like nice properties, like out in the country. So you can still see some level of like kind of value there. But this whole premise, I even looked, there's this lake that's kind of like Lake Tahoe that's down in Argentina. And I remembered it because I'd read about this before, this high mountain lake that's very crystal clear. And I looked at the properties there, and I mean, there was definitely some nice properties. And you could obviously get properties there cheaper than it would be around Lake Tahoe, but it wasn't like, oh, you're going to snag a deal. That was the thing. Most of the places I looked, you just could not really kind of snag a deal. You're like, dang, dude, it's just inflation is just, hit worldwide. And really, it just bleeds everybody out of their wealth. I mean, you just think how much people are spending on energy, how much they're spending on vehicles. And if you extract yourself from that, because this is an attention economy, so it's like, the unfortunate thing is, it's very hard to kind of buck what we've been conditioned to do. People are told to go to school, get a good job, and then if you have these certain assets or something like that, that you're quote unquote successful. And they almost look down upon people who aren't kind of falling into that, and oftentimes I get actually asked, obviously women, say, what do you do? Sometimes I say, I run the show. And it's kind of funny when I say that, but I run the show. It's like, And then, you know, there's certain elements that, you know, they would be like, okay, maybe this guy does run a show. Like, what's he doing? So, you know, it's kind of a funny response, but at the end of the day, not necessarily going to impress anybody with anything you have, because there's obviously levels of this different stuff. Like, you know, people with all these boats and these yachts, and you know, people that have not just one supercar, they got 50 supercars, you know, or they have, you know, they have a yacht and they have a helicopter pad on it and stuff like that. I mean, again, there's always levels to all this stuff, and it's like, I think that is one of the pressing issues of, like, not necessarily of a monetary aspect. And this is one of the things I've really realized, because my network is worldwide, and I think one of the most important things people can do is keep building their network up. And I've found this to be true both in cryptocurrency and in baseball, and then just in kind of business in general. You have this legion of experts, and you get connected in this world, people start recognizing. I just put up a post today because during spring training, we beat the Lancaster Barnstormers. We shut them out. California Dogecoin shut them out. And it got so bad, they started kicking people out of the stadiums, like girlfriends and stuff like that. It was kind of an open gate game. It wasn't anything that they sold tickets to. It was just a, you know, low-key spring training game on a weekday. They started kicking people out because they were the champions of the Atlantic League last year, and they can't have this group of, you know, a lot of guys that were kind of free agents. They can't have them coming in there and you know, beating the Atlantic League champions. They can't have that. So it got like embarrassing. We're kicking them out, and you know, which was insane. They started getting real serious. Everybody got real quiet in their dugout. You could see their manager was getting pissed. He stopped coaching third base. At one point, their coaches were getting pissed, and their hitters were getting pissed, breaking bats, going in the dugout and slamming their helmets, all this kind of stuff. We really frustrated them. But in those situations, sometimes you feel like you don't get respect from. It's like, hey, we got to do this. It's like they didn't pick up any of our players. You know, it was just really upsetting. I think it was really upsetting to a lot of the guys, and I was just like telling their manager, I was like, Ross, you know, throw these guys a bone. These guys went coast to coast. They're grinders, man. They've went out there, they've thugged it out. They can play. I was like, keep a couple of these guys around for a couple of days, take another look at them. It's like, I don't have a spot for him. He's like, well, I got to get rid of 10 other guys because they had to make final cuts for their final roster. Fast forward, they're in the playoffs right now, and they're playing the Long Island Ducks for the Northern Division Championship to go to the Atlantic League Championship Series, and they're up 2-0. I posted a picture of us at the dugout. You go to Dogecoin Baseball, check out the picture. It's pretty epic. I'm talking to the team after we just won. That was the best team we'd ever assembled. One of the other teams we played was Staten Island Ferry Hawks, and we actually technically beat them because they had to roll some innings because their pitchers were on pitch counts, and we had guys on and stuff like that, and their guys were on strict pitch counts. So they rolled those innings, so we didn't get to score those runs. And actually, when we played Lancaster, same thing happened where we probably could have ran up the score more. It might have been 4-0, but we beat them like 2-0. That being said, today I posted that, and I didn't post the scoreboard that we had beat them or we shut them out. I don't want to steal their thunder. They're in the playoffs. They're trying to win back-to-back championships, the Lancaster Barnstormers. And you know, I mainly put it, this was the best team we ever assembled, and pretty much put that, you know, the guys balled out coast to coast and internationally and looking for the next opportunity, and then basically just said that, you know, the Lancaster Barnstormers were playing the Long Island Ducks for the series, you know, to get to the Atlantic League Championship. Wished everybody good luck, good weather, and you know, we're excited to see who's going to be the champion. And so I never said we won. I never posted the scoreboard again. I don't want to toss it in their face, nothing like that. They've obviously, like, people don't think about how you begin the season. They see how you ended the season. And obviously for Lancaster, you know, maybe it was a wake-up call. Like, we got to get on this. We're not going to do well this year. We're not going to repeat as champions. So anyway, they're after it. But one of the people that liked the post right away was Homer Bush. He played for the New York Yankees. He was the manager of the Ferry Hawks. And it was like, he gave us respect. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes that's all you have in this world. Sometimes it comes little piece by piece. Sometimes it takes 5 years, 10 years, 20 years to kind of see that come back to you. You get a little bit of respect. That's your network. And it's just like, we didn't do anything distasteful. Went in there, you know, guys can play, and at some point that is going to come through in a big way. So it's kind of like, I'm starting to see more and more of that this year. I had more managers reaching out to me about different players. Do you have a starting pitcher? Do you have a middle infielder? Who's your closest guy? Who's your closest guy? Because, you know, these guys get soaked up. A lot of times the Atlantic League, these guys get picked up affiliated to go straight to AAA. These guys can play. They've already played in the bigs. They've already played in AAA. They've already played in the Mexican big leagues. And, you know, guys get picked up all the time. Guys get hurt, this and that. So that being said, as far as it relates to crypto, you know, building out your network in the crypto world and kind of knowing who can be trusted, who can be trusted. I've been here for 10 years. And, you know, I've given a lot of people a lot of wins, a lot of insight, and, you know, and kind of like making them realize like what I see in crypto, and have made a lot of people that were skeptical of the whole industry, and been able to talk to them for 15 minutes and convince them that this is the future. And sometimes we get frustrated with crypto because it seems to go so slow. You know, the progression of this keeps going so slow, or it's tough to get through these bear markets, and is this ever going to kind of take over? It already is. It's already got people's attention. It's slowly gaining this like more accepted like status. It's getting more respect over time. So a lot of these things take a lot of time, and that's the thing that's tough. Time was one of the commodities you can't buy more of. That's one of our most precious assets, is our time. So it's easy to be impatient. But you know, I've definitely learned this with baseball. Sometimes I've gotten opportunities, even though I was, let's say, I felt like in certain capacity there were certain things that I was better at even 8 or 10 years ago or something. It's like I've gotten opportunities now I couldn't even have dreamed of 10 years ago. It took that long. So that being said, I'm going to Australia, going to be managing a team, playing for a team over there. And I mean, it's an excellent opportunity. So I'll get boots on the ground in Australia again. I love Australia. I went there for 2018 EOS Hackathon, Sydney, Australia. It was amazing. Went to the Blue Mountains. Really cool. I was like, dude, it's beautiful here. I could live here. Now, all the lockdowns and stuff for COVID, I'm glad I didn't live there for that. That was ridiculous. But, you know, I might be the only unvaccinated person there. I don't know. So, but borders are open. You know, they swept that scam under the rug for now. So, they're going to lock me down. I'm going to be there checking out the coast. You know, got spiders, the sharks, and that coastline to check out in Melbourne. So, anyway, guys, what do you guys think about that? Building your network. And, you know, just not letting this other stuff get you down. Just keep building your network, building your contacts, because a lot of times it's hard to quantify this. How do you value some of these experiences? How do you value the fact that, you know, you've got a friend in Miami, or you've got a friend in California, you got a friend that, you know, you can chill with them in Denver, Colorado. You build your network worldwide, and it's very, very hard to sit there and attach a number to that. Somebody else who maybe be making more, or, you know, they've got, you know, 2 or 3 vehicles, they might be making these huge ass payments. I saw this video where this one dude had 3 cars. He was making, total combined, he was making payments of $4,600 a month on these 3 cars. And it's like, dude, this doesn't make any sense. It just seems, and you say, well, if he has the money and stuff, but it just, he's trying to act like he's 7 figures liquid or something. It's like, I understand why you just don't kind of pay those down. His interest rates weren't low. He was paying like 6% or something, so it wasn't like he had some super crazy low interest. But whatever, man. I mean, again, the leverage can buy you more time, but in the same capacity, it's just it can encumber you. It can make you a slave. You're in the hamster wheel. You're not liberated. So, with that being said, guys, where are you seeing opportunities? Where are you seeing value in this world? Property-wise, vehicles-wise, just relationship-wise, connections-wise. You know, I want you guys to do something. Promise yourself that you're going to have an extraordinary life. I never set out to just have like an ordinary life, and that takes a lot of time, and you're not going to convince some of the people around you that that's actually happening or that has happened. But you know, at some point you do see some of that kind of come back to you eventually. So that being said, guys, where are you guys seeing opportunities? Leave a comment below. Follow me on all social media at Brian Phobos, YouTube, Instagram, Steemit, Twitter, Hive, DTube, Alert. See you guys later.